Guys, it's Jim here again to bring you guys another MMA fight prediction video. This time I'm covering the TUF 19 finales main event that features a featherweight matchup of Ultimate Fighter coaches and rivals when the former UFC lightweight champion Frankie the Answer Edgar faces the prodigy BJ Penn, the only man ever to hold both the UFC lightweight championship and the UFC welterweight championship in their trilogy fight. I will give you guys a short profile of the two fighters as well as a full fight breakdown of who I ultimately winning and selling the score once and for all. Now, without further ado, let's get Edgar Penn 3. Here we go. Now, this rivalry between Frankie Edgar and BJ Penn jumped off at UFC 111. And at that time, BJ was the reigning lightweight champion. He was looking unstoppable at lightweight. You're like, who the hell is going to beat this guy at lightweight? Then entered Frankie Edgar, who was like, 12-1 in his mixed martial arts career. He was a 3-fight winning streak. I mean, he had great strike and great wrestling. But still, I didn't give him a shot at beating BJ Penn. But to my surprise, Frankie scored a monstrous upset by being quicker on the draw than BJ and outlanding him on the feet. Frankie was the first guy at lightweight to ever take BJ down. The first one wasn't really all that complete, but the second takedown he scored was spot on. BJ didn't have anything for him. His cornermen at that time were just pathetic. They couldn't offer BJ any helpful advice or strategy into combating Frankie Edgar when his back was against the wall and he was down by a considerable margin. All they could do was try to pump him up and tell him to go knock him out and this, that, and the other thing. Ultimately, Frankie dethroned BJ Penn and became the new UFC lightweight champion of the world. Nonetheless, he gave BJ Penn his rematch at UFC 118, but that wasn't even remotely close to what we saw the first time, because he took him down with ease this time. Last time he was struggling, but he got him down just like that multiple times, and he was just beating him to the punch again on the feet. I mean, he destroyed him. But yet BJ in the fourth round was able to score a takedown and get Frankie to the ground, but he wasn't able to do much with it. And the fifth round, he was able to get him down again. He was able to, take the back, but he wasn't able to fully get all the hooks in, and he just couldn't get the submission, and Frankie reversed the position and got the fight where he wanted, just pounded on him. Simply put, outclassed BJ to a unanimous decision to retain his championship in his very first title defense and leave the score between him and BJ 2-0. After that loss, BJ Penn, went to go dust himself off, and he jumped back up to welterweight at UFC 123 and fought Matt Hughes in their trilogy bout and knocked his ass out in the first round. And from there, he was matched up against John Finch at UFC 127 in the main event. I mean, he did great in the first round. He was able to get Finch down. He was able to get his striking game going. But the second round, though, was a bit of a toss-up. And third round, it was all Finch, baby, all day long. He got BJ to the ground and finched his ass. Nevertheless, the bout was scored a draw. Then he faced Nick Diaz at UFC 137 in the main event and got his ass whooped. It looked like freaking E.T., damn it. And he retired. His retirement was short-lived when he came back to face Roy McDonald, who put a whooping on him and lost the fight by unanimous decision again. He's a glutton for punishment. That's all I can say about that. And while BJ was finding mixed results at welterweight, Frankie would go on to defend his title against Gray Maynard, the first man to defeat him, in a back and forth war at UFC 125 where both guys had their moments. Gray took that first round by knocking Edgar down like, 3 times. And Frankie, that guy is a tough son of a bitch. He was in a lot of trouble, but he never faltered. He never gave up. In that second round, he took that. It was incredible. He took him down. He outstruck him. And after that, the rest of the rounds were very close. Both men were giving it everything they had, but the bout was ultimately scored a draw. Then he fought Maynard again at UFC 136 for the final time. And when the bout got underway, it looked just like the second engagement, except this time Frankie turned it on and knocked his ass out in the 4th round. However, his next 3 fights thereafter didn't exactly go his way, because he dropped his lightweight belt to Ben Henderson at UFC 144 by unanimous decision, and he lost the rematch against Bendo as well at UFC 150 via split decision. Fast forward, the following year in 2013, he pretty much dropped another decision to Jose Aldo for the UFC featherweight title at UFC 156. However, he ultimately came back like a true champion and halted the rise of Charles Oliveira and scored a unanimous decision victory over him. And now he's coaching the Ultimate Fighter against BJ Penn. And when this season of the Ultimate Fighter is concluded, they will fight each other for a 3rd time in a TUF 19 finale in a 5-round bout at featherweight. Now, for Frankie, he wants to put an exclamation point on the BJ Penn trilogy and get himself in the running for another shot at Aldo's belt, although he's got to wait in line a little bit because you got Mendez and you got Swanson ahead of him. So he's got to beat BJ and be another guy, and I think he's right back there. As far as BJ is concerned, his aim in this fight is to avenge the 2 losses that he suffered at the hands of Frankie Edgar and finish this fight with authority and ride off in the sunset and end his career on a high note, because there's nothing left for him to prove. Let's break it down. Breaking this fight down between these 2 former champions, when it comes down to the height, BJ takes that. He's 5'9", Frankie's 5'6", by 3 inches. When it comes to the reach, Frankie has a 2-inch reach advantage over BJ because he's got a 72-inch reach to BJ's 70-inch reach. When it comes to cardio, that's always been a question for BJ. Is BJ going to be in shape? Sometimes, he rides the cage and he's in shape, but other times he runs out of gas. We don't have to worry about that with Frankie. Frankie's always in incredible shape, and the X factor heading into this fight that we have to look at is whether the weight cut will affect BJ Penn's performance in this 5-round main event. BJ has gone 5-round fights before at welterweight and at lightweight, but he's never gone 5 rounds at featherweight. It's a whole new ball game for BJ altogether. And if he's sluggish in any way, this isn't going to end well for him. It comes down to the striking aspect of this fight. Both guys are great strikers, and they both have their strong points. In particular, with BJ being the bigger man, he definitely has the power advantage over Edgar. There's no doubt about that. He's knocked out more guys than Frankie. He knocked out Hughes, he stopped Sanchez, stopped Uno, he knocked out Shirk. Frankie has the speed advantage, crisper boxing, and better side-to-side movement. The fact is, BJ might have the power and the size, but if he can't hit Frankie, then he's just hitting the air. In their 2 bouts that they had, Frankie got the better of him on the feet every single time. BJ had a couple moments where he caught Frankie pretty good. I'll admit that, but he never had Frankie in any serious trouble on the feet. But Frankie has caught BJ on the chin clean. And Frankie, to his credit, also has the power to knock you out as well. I mean, as seen in the Mark Boich fight and in the Gray Maynard fight where he knocked him out impressively for the first time in his career. But overall, I'm going to give the striking to Frankie because his in and out movement and his precision is just so much better than BJ's. As far as jiu-jitsu is concerned, both guys are black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but as I said before and I'll say it again, no 2 black belts are created equal because BJ has the better solid Jiu-Jitsu. He's got better flexibility because he uses his legs like other people use arms. And he submitted a lot more opponents to Frankie Edgar. He likes to choke, particularly the rear naked choke. That's his favorite move to use in mixed martial arts bouts. Although I think what he needs to do in this fight, I mean, he needs to diversify a little bit and just like utilize other chokes and other types of submissions because you can't always take a guy's back. Sometimes you have to just push off and get a guillotine choke, or when you get on top, try that arm triangle choke. Because he wasn't really able to slap in that rear naked choke on him at all. Frankie's only submission of note came by way of rear naked choke to Matt Beach. Not to mention that he was able to reverse position on BJ on the ground. And he's got some solid submission defense. Above all, though, I'm going to still give the advantage to BJ Penn. He's a 3rd-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, when it comes down to the wrestling aspect of this fight, Frankie Edgar is a Division I wrestler. BJ Penn is not a ranked wrestler, but he's got solid defensive wrestling. It's not that easy to get this guy to the ground, and he's got pretty good, offensive wrestling as well. But that being said, Frankie Edgar took this guy down in both of their fights. Much better in the second. He did it with ease. And I don't see him having too much of an issue getting BJ Penn down this time, considering he's dropping for the first time at featherweight and he's going to have to adjust the weight class a little bit. And while he's doing his feeling out process, Frankie's going to be charging in, taking him to the mat. Despite that, BJ did take Frankie down in the 4th and in the 5th. He wasn't able to do much with the position, though, but he was able to get him down nonetheless. Overall, I'm giving the advantage to Frankie Edgar. Now, as far as their game plans are concerned, for Frankie Edgar, it's rinse and with precision and pressure on BJ Penn. In that, he's got to use that footwork, be in and out with crisp combinations, 1-2, and follow up with a hook and exit out with a kick. When BJ's closing in on him, push him against the cage, some dirty boxing, take him down, control his hand, passing that guard, score the elbows like he did in the second fight, rough him up, pound his face in, and if it's there and he sees that BJ is wobbled, going for the kill like he did in the Maynard fight and knock this guy out. But more or less, it's likely going to be him basically bullfighting against BJ, counter-striking, taking him down, and smothering him to a unanimous decision victory. BJ Penn, his strategy for fighting Frankie Edgar revolves around 3 things. 1, slow him down. 2, not letting him get out of his corner vision. And 3, using his size and his physical gifts to put Frankie Edgar away. And it starts by leg kicks, because we all know Frankie Edgar is very fast and he's got excellent footwork and he's in and out. So BJ's got to put a stop to that stick and move routine of Frankie Edgar by leg kicking him. Alternate between the flicker jabs to set up a big punch like an uppercut, or a chopping overhand right off the top, and the regular jab to press Frankie up against the cage in the clinch, get the body blows in on his ass, get that body lock, take him down, and don't worry about taking his back for rear naked choke so much. Just pass the guard enough to try to sink in an arm triangle choke. To try to submit him from that perspective. Because Frankie is very good at reversals. As we've seen both times when BJ was able to take his back, Frankie was able to reverse it to a better position for himself. So I think that would be a better, option for him, so that Frankie is carrying his weight on him. Versus this shit of him going for the back and not getting it. Just stay on top of him and just try to submit him on top. It's a little easier that way. Other than that, it's just about push kicks and start scoring with the high kicks just to open Frankie up. So if BJ can go in there and score something big like that flying knee he did on Shirk to his jaw. Above all, stuff his takedowns. If he takes you down, constantly threaten him with submission attempts. Go for arm bars, omoplatas, hip escape, get on top of him, or wall walk and get back up to your feet. Get this guy's timing right. Go after it and start connecting with those left hooks, well placed, to his jaw. Will set him doing backflips, as we've seen in the second fight with Gray Maynard. And, just pick your shots, be relentless. And he cannot let Frankie Edgar escape him at all. He's got to cut him off at every turn, bust him up, cut him up, lock him up in that Muay Thai plum, and hit him with nothing but a flurry of knees. And just knock him out. The bottom line is BJ Penn cannot allow this fight to go to a decision. He needs a knockout or a submission if he wants to win this fight. Nevertheless, when analyzing everything and taking everything into account, my official prediction for this fight is that Frankie Edgar is going to wear BJ Penn out, outslick him, and outwork him to a unanimous decision. And the reason that's going to happen is because Frankie's got BJ's number. Plus, I really think the cardio is going to come into play in this fight. And with BJ cutting down to 145 for the first time, I think he's going to be drained. And Frankie's going to be able to take advantage, mop the floor with him again to a clear-cut, unanimous decision. From there, he's going to move one step closer to a shot at Aldo's belt. And for BJ, it's been one hell of a ride. I'd love to see you fight, man. You've been an excellent, champion and fighter. But it's time to hang it up, buddy. You've got nothing left to prove. You've already 2 division world champion at both welterweight and lightweight. It's time to hang it up, because you know what happens with the guys that stay around too long. It doesn't end well for them. Anyways, this ends today's fight prediction video. I'll see you guys for the next one.